Hello, BookTube. I have another book haul for you, but it's not a new book haul. It's not a mail haul. Instead, it's a Brattle book haul, and it's extra special because it was financed by one of you. I walked in recently, and there was a gift certificate waiting for me, so I immediately got to work on spending it, and I wanted to show you what I got. I can't thank you all enough. Those of you who are this the current of generosity that I am encountering while doing this booktube channel really goes a long way, not only to reaffirming of faith in humanity that has taken a battering in the year 2016, but also to pumping wind back in my sails when I've had a particularly wearying night taking care of my little senior citizens, or a particularly wearying morning. Uh, that's not anybody's fault. There's nothing anybody can do about that, and there's no way that I can be saved from it. It's part of the job. Uh, but it nevertheless makes you drag sometimes, especially since, as one of you pointed out, recently, I'm not young. It's amazing to me, pleasing to me, how seldom people think to say that, but nevertheless, it's true, and I'm the first to admit that when I walked into the Brattle that day and there was a gift certificate waiting for me, it made me happy not just because I now had a gift certificate to spend. It was also a boost that I really needed. So I wanted to show you, I want to thank you, of course, but I wanted to show you the books and natter pointlessly about them for a bit. The first one is something that I've talked about on this channel before, something that I love, a big chunker that I love and that I can't get enough of, which would explain why I have multiple editions of it. It's Boswell's Life of Johnson. I found a beautiful, perfect condition Oxford trade paperback. And the reason that I wanted this, as soon as I saw it at the Brattle, was because I realized as soon as I saw it that the Oxford edition that I have is the yellow spine mass market, half the size of this thing. And I prefer this. I prefer something that will sit on a shelf and that will, has a heft in the hand rather than the tiny little print. It's the same edition. They just reprinted it in this larger size. And the reason that I would want it when I already have two or three Boswell editions of Boswell's Life of Johnson, the reason that you want a big unedited version is for the introduction of the notes. You will, of course, get lost in the book itself anyway while you're rereading it. But the thing you want in any shelf of critical editions of anything is the complementary notes and introduction, the scholarly apparatus. That's what you want. So I grabbed it. The next thing was an heirloom. I was very happy to see it. It was an unintentional echo of life in America these days, but I swear that wasn't why I got it. I got it because it's really wonderful. It's Bring On the Bad Guys by Stan Lee. This is from, I think, the 70s. He did 1976. He did a book called The Origins of Marvel Comics. He wrote the story of the modern era of Marvel Comics that he helped to inaugurate, and it did really well. I don't know. No one had ever done it before, and I don't know how well he was expecting it to do, but it did really well. So he did Son of Origins, sort of playing on the whole drive-in schlock movie theater genre that he loved so much when he was a younger man, and that did really well too. There seemed to be no end to the appetite. So he did a third volume, and then he did a fourth volume on superhero women. And I had all these volumes at one point or another, and don't anymore. And so when I saw Bring On the Bad Guys, I was very happy to get it. This one concentrates, as you can tell from the gorgeous John Romita Sr. cover. This concentrates on the Marvel supervillains. There's the Green Goblin. You'll notice the preponderance of the color green, but let's not dwell on that too much. There's enough Freudian garbage as I've said about Stan Lee to last a lifetime. There's the Green Goblin. That's the Red Skull, Captain America's arch nemesis. That's Loki, the god of mischief. That's Dormammu, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, a foe of Doctor Strange. That's Mephisto, the Lord of the Underworld, a foe of the Silver Surfer, and of course Doctor Doom. I love it, and when I was looking over this, it reprints iconic episodes, iconic adventures, issues that feature each of these villains. And as I was thumbing through it, I realized that unlike in previous years, decades and decades ago, when I read these books over and over again, I was enjoying more Stan Lee's narration in between each chapter than I was the actual comic book excerpts. Uh, and I noticed, I won't harp on it much, I promise. There has been a thing that has gone through the comic book world in the last 10 years, driven by Alan Moore, that has just driven me bonkers, which is this idea that Stan Lee was, I guess, some sort of coat check guy at Marvel Comics, and that nothing creative about it happened because of him. That Doctor Strange and Spider-Man were created, scripted, dialogued, paced out in every last detail by Steve Ditko, and that the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, the X-Men were entirely created by Jack Kirby from start to finish, and that Stan Lee just took credit for their work. None of it is true. I knew it before I read these books, and Stan Lee has been, in general, too gentlemanly to actually go on record and say, well, we worked together. I did the writing, they did the drawing, just like But you read these books, and his narration is, it's very entertaining, and it's also very generous. He is very generous to the artist that later whiny pants fans say he's ripped off. It just... I didn't get it for that reason. I didn't get it also because the bad guys now rule the world. I got it because it's a fundamental, not even really a graphic novel, but an anthology, and I wanted to have it. I hope that a lot of times, if you see something like that at the Brattle, it means that you're going to see the rest of them. A lot of times, if you find something like that at the Brattle, it means that it was in a box, and in the unpacking and pricing stage down in the basement, it got separated from its friends, but that they are eventually all going to appear out on the sales floor, and that would be great, because I want them all. I want the Origins of Marvel Comics with the great old cover, the characters coming out of a manual typewriter. I want the Son of Origins with the great John Romita Sr. cover. No offense to his son, John Romita Jr., who is a great artist, but when John Romita Sr. was on his game and doing the iconic standing still Marvel thing, nobody could touch him. Nobody. And I want the superhero women. It's fascinating. And then I think those four represented everything for Stan Lee. There were square-bound books after that followed the format, but I think those were the four that he wrote. I'll have to check on that, though. And then the next thing, mother of a chunker. It's Post-War by Tony Judt. It's his study of Europe in the wake of World War II, and it's incredibly readable. It's what is this, 1,500 pages long? No, it's 1,000 pages long, and you would think that would mean that it would be a slog, but it's not. It's so readable. It is so good, and a lot of you might be familiar. If you go to used bookstores, you won't have seen it like this. More than likely, you'll have seen it in the orange spine Penguin paperback. And I had that orange spine Penguin paperback forever. In fact, I think I still do. But this is the kind of work that you go back and reread. You get to a certain point in another book, you get to a certain account of something, the Suez Crisis or whatever, and you want to know. Your first thought is, well, how does Tony Judt write about that? So I've gone back to that paperback so many times that it really wasn't long for the world. So I was very happy to find this thing. Wasn't happy to lug it around, but I only had to lug it around for a block, and then I was able to shift the load to the gigantic brawling shoulders of a muscular teenager. Then the next one might come as a bit of a surprise. It's a book I already have, but I don't have this format, and that's the fun of indulging yourself if you have a gift certificate at a bookstore, is that you can double up on something just for the fun of getting the edition that you want. And it's More Matter by John Updike. This is a collection of his book reviews and whatnot. It's a big, generous collection. And I had no idea that, I think this is Harper? Random House. I had no idea that Random House had even done a big floppy trade like this of More Matter. I had no idea. It doesn't look anything like the hardcover. And I have the hardcover in the literary criticism bookcase. But I prefer this. I absolutely do prefer this. So I saw it and grabbed it right away. It's a bunch of books, classic book on book cover design. So I will winnow out the hardcover and keep this instead. And then the last thing that I got at this Brattle book haul I want to show you. blew my mind. It's it's this. This is Julian May's Pliocene Exile Quartet. It's the Many-Colored Land, the Golden Torque, the Non-Born King, and the Adversary. And the reason there are 5 books here is because this set also has the Pliocene Companion, which has essays and glossary and whatnot on everything that you find in the books. I had no idea there was a Pliocene Companion volume. These things don't have the Michael Whelan cover art. They have this cover art instead. And when I first saw them, I thought, surely this is a Book of the Month Club thing. This is a science fiction book club thing. These didn't come out in hardcovers. And then I remembered, no, the Science Fiction Book Club did hardcover editions of the Pliocene Exile books, but they did them in 2 volumes, combining each, the 4 books into 2 each, with new cover art that was really bad. So no, these are just hardcovers made by Houghton Mifflin. There's just a series in hardcover. Had no idea that it even existed. Don't know when it happened. I don't know if these were out at the same time as the original paperbacks, or maybe were printed special. I haven't looked it up to find out the provenance of these books. But the series, I'm long since due for a reread, and I wasn't looking forward to delicately preserving my mass market paperbacks. I really wasn't. I knew I wanted to read them, but I don't want the science fiction book club hardcovers, and I wasn't really sure that the paperbacks would survive a rereading. Now I don't have to worry about it. I'll reinforce the covers on these and just read them, to my heart's content. And I think I've mentioned this series on the channel before. It's not in print anymore, and it's really, really good. And its fundamental premise is that it takes place a little bit in the future. Humanity has joined a confederation of alien species who use as a yardstick of who they will allow to enter their confederation whether or not that series has achieved the full awareness of their meta abilities, their mind's meta abilities. There's a small handful of particular meta abilities like self-healing or telepathy or telekinesis. And if your primitive species is still just sort of farting around with those but not really knowing how to use them, then you're not right for joining. But once you have achieved metaconcert, then you can join. And these books are set in a time long after humanity has joined, and Earth is now a paradise, and everything is peaceful and blissful, and that is no comfort to the misfits that still turn up in society. And those misfits have locked onto a perfect way out in one particular valley in France. A scientist has discovered a portal to the past. It only exists there. So you go through the portal there in that valley, and you end up in the Pliocene era, millions of years ago, in that valley. You come out of the other end of it the same as you went in. But it's millions of years ago. They're Australopithecines, but there are no humans. They're massive, gigantic animals and all sorts of extinct mammals, and it's a one-way trip. You can't come back. And so the misfits of this century, hurt souls, rebellious souls. There's a small. The books start off with a small cast of very good characters. They decide it's worth it. There's nothing for us here in this regimented universe, so we will go back into the wild past. Now, what they don't know, and what we learn immediately when we follow them through the portal, is that there's an alien species called the Danu that has crashed on Earth back in the Pliocene. And they have advanced technology, they have advanced metaconcert abilities of their own, and as each group of humans has come through the time portal, this group of aliens has enslaved them immediately. and put them to work in various levels of the glittering kingdom that they have created in the Pliocene era. And they do it. They enslave them by putting the golden torque around their neck that suppresses their will and suppresses their meta abilities. And of course, you can see the plot coming a mile away, right? The group of humans that we follow through that suffers this, we've met them first. We've met them in their normal lives, and then we follow them through, and we know they're the ones that are going to bring the system down. But Julian May extends that storyline through 4 books of raucous action and fantastic character development. Just I remember them being an absolute joy to read. My favorite being The Adversary, the 4th book. But I very much look forward to reading them again, and now I can without any problem. I'm worrying that the pages are going to come off or turn to dust in my hand, and I have the Pliocene Companion to thumb through just for the sheer interest of it. So that is I don't know if I can show all of these things on camera. That is a great big Brattle book haul that I owe to the generosity of one of you. so thank you very much. And I'll see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.